think I was going yet. They said I was the last speaker. Has there been 3 speakers already?
Yeah.
Thanks for notes.
Okay, were you the first one? Okay.
Not been very good.
I didn't think you counted. No, I was here. I was listening. I didn't think you counted. Sorry.
Now you're doing
All right, now we got 4. All right, well, who won the Purple Cow book?
Nobody wants to admit it.
Who won any of the Seth Godin books that I did the giveaway for tonight? Read those. They're amazing. They're all amazing, and buy more of them. I don't work for Seth or anything, but I've read most of his books. I really enjoy them. The Purple Cow, I was talking to Marta about it. I've read it probably half a dozen times, but the last Idea Camp, I was talking to Marta about it because I was kind of jazzed about it, and I was listening to it in my car, and I was just sharing some ideas. She was like, wow, this is really cool. You have to talk about this next time. Can everybody hear me? You can never hear yourself when you've got the microphone. You never know how loud you are. The idea behind the Purple Cow, behind the book, is creating a product or something that is so remarkable that it does the marketing for you. It's not about having exceptional marketing. It's about building the marketing into whatever you're doing, whether it be a service or product or yourself or whatever it is. It used to be for success that you would just advertise like crazy. If you wanted to be successful, you'd throw $1 million at a big advertising campaign, and then you'd have success. And it was, I was looking at Lance, and I almost said Lance, but Seth talks about the 5 P's of marketing, and I don't really remember what they were, but whoever's got the book can tell us later. But it talks about how all of these important points of marketing have to come together in order for things to happen. And he explains how that's not really the case anymore. And he goes through and he talks about, a variety of case studies. And he talks about how now it's not just your marketing that sets you apart or that makes you or helps you be successful. It's your systems, processes, storefront, website, how you answer the phone, what you stock, how you stock, when you stock, your customer service, how you package. Everything is your marketing. In short, everything you do, how you shake hands with somebody else, everything is your marketing. And this book talks about the power of making everything you do remarkable, and how being remarkable and how creating remarkable things will be your marketing for you. And so the first case study I want to talk about was, it's an elevator product. And I don't think we have any of these here in Panama City Beach. I think it would do really well. I'm not really sure why, like Tidewater Beach Resort. I'm in property management. I manage short-term vacation rentals. And I have a couple in Tidewater, not that many, but I've got a lot of other places. If you're not familiar with Tidewater, it's the tallest condominium resort on Panama City Beach. It's 30 floors. It's the only one. The rest of them are capped at 23. Some of them are even less than that. And for some reason, they put the slowest elevators in the business in that building. And I get more complaints. And there's more units, there's more condos in that building than any other building that I have properties in. There's almost 500 units in that one building. And I think there's only 6 elevators in the whole building, and they're very slow. I had a property on the 28th floor, and it took me 60 minutes last 4th of July holiday just to get up there and get back down. 60 minutes, it was crazy. So this one guy, this elevator technologist or whatever, came out with this software, developed this algorithmically based software. And he's going, these skyscrapers in New York City, some of them are like probably, 100 floors, maybe even more than that. And, these elevators, they'd go up and an elevator would leave the ground floor and it wouldn't come back for a half hour, an hour or something, because it would stop at all these floors and they'd come back down. Well, this guy goes, why don't I create a computer system that ties all of these elevators together that algorithmically determines which elevator this person should catch after they put in their floor. So you walk into the lobby, you walk over to a centralized computer, probably on the wall. I haven't actually seen it, just read about it. Plug in your floor, and it tells you, it calculates which of the 6 or 8 elevators in the lobby you're going to take based on where the location is and the load and what other floors people have put in. And so when you get on the elevator, it takes you as an express directly to your floor and right back down. Now, can you imagine a product like that? There's not a real estate developer in the world, a significant real estate developer in the world, that hasn't heard of this elevator product. And he didn't do anything except for create a remarkable product. The product at that point did the marketing for him. He didn't have to do anything. He's not paying for TV ads. He's not buying magazine ads or ads in the newspaper. Maybe some of their sales reps are smooching, some of the real estate developers out there, but all in all, the product speaks for itself. They don't have to advertise it. The second case study I wanted, now there's about 36 case studies in this book that just really kind of emulate and explain how this works, how the concept of the Purple Cow works. Who here has heard of the Herman Miller Aeron chair? Who here has one?
I got 2 of them.
Nice. I've thought about buying one. I've seriously considered buying one. My problem is if I buy one, I have to buy 2 or 3 because I have a couple of different offices that I work out of now. They're about $900 a piece right now. They used to be $750 when they first launched back in the 90s, mid-90s. And the idea behind it is when they started it, when they first launched that, back in the 80s and 90s, purchasing agents with corporations were looking for a safe and easy bet when it came to buying office chairs for their staff. They didn't want to spend $700 on a chair. They wanted to spend maybe $50 to $100 on a chair. And most of the chairs out there were identical. They were pretty much the same thing. And the purchasing agents were looking for safe and easy bets, and the manufacturers were making safe and easy bets for the purchasing agents to buy. And so when Herman Miller came out with their $750 chair, they weren't making a safe and easy bet for the corporations to buy. They knew it was actually a very unsafe bet. And they thought and pondered possibly that they might not actually sell very many chairs. But the chair that they made was so remarkably engineered and amazingly designed that it was not only really comfortable, it was not bad for the body to actually sit in it for long periods of time, which a lot of people were doing. They did studies, they put a lot of money and effort into the engineering and design work, and it turns out that every time somebody saw the chair, they wanted to sit in it. And every time somebody sat in the chair, they wanted to talk about it. And when they started talking about it, people started wanting to buy it. And then, all of a sudden, they started selling chairs. Now, what is it, almost 20 years later? They've sold millions of chairs, and they're a highly profitable company. And I remember first seeing, I hadn't heard of them before until I started seeing some ads on them like maybe 5 and 6 years ago when I started being kind of a grown-up. But people that are older than me, some, perhaps even my parents' generation, they've known about these things for a long time because they've worked for corporations who were buying these things en masse. And so the idea here is that they put a ton of money, instead of in the marketing to get it going, they put a ton of money into the engineering and development of a remarkable product that did the marketing for them. The idea behind the Purple Cow is to build the marketing into your product or service. The third case study I wanted to talk about is titled The Best Baker in the World. Who here has heard of Poilane bread? I haven't either, but apparently it's sold in every French restaurant that is worthy of going in, which I've heard all of them are worthy of going in. Lots of butter and, making my mouth water. Lionel Poilane inherited his dad's bakery when he was just a young man, and this is about 15 years ago. And instead of just tending the fires and just maintaining the business, he decided he wanted to learn everything he could about baking bread. He interviewed thousands of French bakers, bought every baking book he could find, and just studied them. And he ended up collecting, I think he broke a world record on largest collection of bread baking books, but he ended up amassing the largest collection of bread baking books, I think, in the world at one point. And his idea was, I don't really just want to be a bread baker, I want to do something remarkable. He became obsessed with being the best bread baker in France. And he wouldn't hire bakers. He refused to hire bakers. In fact, he decided he would only hire just other people that weren't bakers, had no experience with baking, because he insisted that bakers had too many bad habits. I've heard that a million times in a lot of different industries. He wanted to hire people that have never had any experience with it so he could train them from scratch, and they would apprentice under him for years. And of course, he started pioneering all sorts of weird bread making things, and different types of wood burning ovens and stuff like that. And of course, he was rejected at first because he was doing things that were completely different than what anybody else was doing. But after years of trying and pushing and innovating and doing remarkable things and putting all of this obsession into it, he finally was able to break through and people recognized the outstanding quality of his breads. 5 minutes? Not too bad. I only have one more case study, so I might wrap it up early. No, it's not happening. Give me a 1 minute, okay? And then 30 seconds. Now, after several years of doing this, his bread is sold in every French bakery and every French restaurant in France. And he sells over $15 million a year in bread, shipping it worldwide. I think I've got a contact issue here. The last case study, the fourth case study that I wanted to go over was, it was something I've actually pondered a lot the last couple of days. And it was actually the story of a PR lady. And she was doing really well, working for a fairly decent sized marketing firm on the West Coast. And she'd made a lot of money, but wasn't really happy and decided she wanted to quit her day job and go out and do her own thing. So she spent about 15 grand sending out these fairly elaborate marketing pieces to every major marketing firm in the country that she could think of. And she was trying to solicit business, trying to be their next PR person. And of course, with any sort of print mail and stuff like that, it wasn't very successful. She had a very low response rate. And so she ended up doing a sit down with Seth Godin, the author. And Seth said, how did you determine who you were going to send mail to? And she said, well, I just decided I was going to send it to all the marketing firms. He said, you got to have to be a lot more specific than that, because right now you're doing the shotgun effect and it's not targeting anybody. And because of that, you're not going to get very specific results. And so they decided, since she had a background in pharmaceutical to narrow it down quite a bit. In fact, they went a lot more specific to that, and they went down to plastic surgery. And so she began making relationships with plastic surgeons, subscribing to all the trade journals, building relationships in that community. And turns out, 5 years later, she is now the go-to person for anything plastic surgery PR related. And so there was only a few hundred at the time plastic surgeons in the country, and if they needed any sort of PR work, they knew where to go because she was the only one focusing specifically on that. And she was the go-to person, hands down. And I thought that was really interesting, because if you're thinking about like what am I doing with my life, and if maybe you're in some sort of consulting type relationship, industry or business, figuring out maybe how specific can you get to make your clientele the smallest group possible so that you can kind of be the big fish in that little pond. I'm pretty much done here. It's 2 minutes. If you want more, you have to buy the book. It was only a few dollars. I think I bought on Amazon the hardback. I don't really buy hardback books, but I couldn't give away Kindle tonight because that was over my budget. But I think the Kindle copy was like 10 bucks or something. The hardback, you could probably get it for like $2 or $3. I didn't even talk about sneezers. I didn't even talk about how to influence people. And I didn't even talk about this applies, what I talked about applies to me being an entrepreneur. But if you're an employee and you don't really want to work for yourself because it's kind of a pain in the butt sometimes, you like working for somebody else, there's a whole section on how to bring the purple cow to work with you and how to influence your boss to help develop purple cows and be more purple cow-ish. So anyway, I'm Jason Koertge, and that was the Purple Cow.
Thank you, Jason. Thank you, dude.